Advent bonus episode number 2.
That's right. Hopefully you've taken some time to think about Christ's incarnation and worship this morning. Tim talked about marveling, like all that the Son does for the Father. It's to cause us to marvel. And so,
it's great to take time, be intentional. And last time I think we talked about, it's good to have resources. Hopefully this is a resource.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite theologians are like, popular theologians like John Piper. Love that guy. Love Wayne Grudem. I know you're a Greg Kokelman, but you also, there's another theologian that you asked today for some help. Well, I forgot his name.
Yeah, there's another great theologian. ChatGPT, is that the theologian you're talking about?
I think this is AI, it's like, very crazy thoughts all over. This is one of those good uses for AI. I don't want AI to write my pastor's sermons, but I want it to be a tool that he can use to gather data quickly.
Absolutely. And in fact, in my work setting, we just had a day-long session on artificial intelligence. And the point that he made over and over again was that artificial intelligence is not going to steal your job. Someone using artificial intelligence is going to steal your job if you are not using it.
That's good.
So in that vein, so I had an idea about a podcast. I kind of fed the general outline to ChatGPT and was like, hey, let's do this. Can you kind of sort and organize? This is what I'd like to cover. This is the order, and end with something that said that. And we got a script for
that's such a. I encourage. I don't use ChatGPT as much as I should, but I was putting together a lesson and I just had like 6 pages of notes and I said, organize this for me.
Oh yeah.
And it just like made it meaningful where it's like, oh, these are all my ideas, but now I can see them better.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah. So in that vein, I asked ChatGPT like, hey, we want to do a podcast because Jesus fulfilled a lot of prophecies throughout his lifetime. And since it's Christmas time, the holiday season, we thought we might just look at those that he fulfilled just through his birth. So this is not all of them. Obviously, he fulfilled more than this, but these are the ones that he fulfilled. And so then we maybe just apply them at the end. So it's got some application there too.
I like where ChatGPT started. The Messiah would be born of a woman.
I mean, that's the foundational one. It's like we're raising the bar high here. Yeah, born of a woman. Yeah, so
I think by the letter of the law. Yeah, that is correct.
That was
prophet. So Genesis 3:15, this first gospel that we see in our scriptures, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. If we're going to add a New Testament fulfillment, Galatians 4:4, Paul writes, but when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his son, born of a woman, born under the law. So 101 right now.
Hey, yeah, I mean, nails this one. Got that one. Second one, this one's this one starts making it a little bit more difficult. Born of a virgin.
Yeah, bar has been raised significantly.
Yeah, the bar has been raised. Isaiah 7:4, and this is one of those prophecies. I like the analogy you gave a couple podcasts ago. Like if you're looking forward to a mountain range and you see, like, there could be some mountains that are a little bit closer, some that are a little further off. From a distance, you can't tell the difference. And sometimes we would say that there's a here and now fulfillment and then an ultimate fulfillment of the prophecy. So in Isaiah 7:4, that is exactly what's happening. Because he's betrothed, he's going to get married, and he's telling this king that a current virgin will conceive, but under normal means. But then we come to know later that an actual virgin, one who's not had sex with a man, is going to conceive. But in Isaiah 7:4 it says, therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. And then the fulfillment of that in the New Testament is all this took place to fulfill. This is Matthew 1:22-23. All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel.
No, that's good. That's one that I think we all hear at Christmas time for good reason. Good one to think about. Along that same line, not only was he born of a woman, born of a virgin, but born in Bethlehem. Another remarkable prophecy. You're starting to, when you throw all of these together, then it's like, wow, unlikely that this would happen, right? God is sovereign. We know it's not about the odds and that kind of thing. But in Micah 5:2, the prophet writes, but you, O Bethlehem, Ephrathah, who are too little to be among the clans of Judah, from you shall come forth for me one who is to be ruler in Israel. In Matthew 2, verse 1, Matthew writes, now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king. So 3 prophecies in, 3 prophecies fulfilled.
Yeah, and I wonder, we have record of false messiahs popping up, and I wonder how many of them were born in Bethlehem, because it seems like that'd be fairly easy to know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or if everyone who came out like, oh, you could be Joshua. I don't know. You could be the.
Oh man, a lot more pressure. If you born in certain places, be like, oh,
that's
I
right.
could be the one.
That's right.
Yeah, that's when it starts getting kind of interesting. What's the next prophecy we got, Michael?
Yeah, so born from the tribe of Judah, and when I was younger, not that this isn't still amazing, but I used to think 1 out of 12. It's probably 1 out of 2 now, right? Because the 10 were scattered and kind of lost. I'm sure there's some of those ethnic Jews who came back to the region and stuff, but generally speaking, those 10, they don't really know. And so then it was the lower tribes, Judah, who were taken over to Babylon, then came back, and it was known as Judah, so Israel and Judah.
That's a good point, but the flip side is, what if, obviously it wouldn't have said this, but what if it was from the tribe of Dan? We can't, it doesn't work anymore.
Right. Yeah. So God knew that Judah would stay intact and would survive the captivity and come back and be able to trace his lineage through there. But the Old Testament, Genesis 49:10, the scepter, this is Jacob talking to his sons. He says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet until tribute comes to him. In the New Testament, Luke 3:33, the son of Judah. So he's, in that big, long, list of folks. Judah is in that list.
Nice. We'll keep on moving along. A descendant of David. So we're really starting to narrow in more. The Messiah would be from the lineage of King David.
Yeah.
Big, from the line of the king. In Jeremiah 23, verse 5, Jeremiah says, behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch. And this wouldn't be the only place we would see something like this. There's other places we could have looked as well. And in Matthew 1:1, we're opening up that New Testament,
That's right.
The book of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. So Matthew knows this is important right out of the gate.
Yeah.
That's what we're hitting.
Yeah, that's really... And if you look at Matthew's genealogy and Luke's genealogy, they're not exactly the same. And you'd think, wow, there's just this blatant contradiction in the Bible. That would be the non-charitable view of it. But Luke had Matthew's gospel available to him, and what I think is pretty clear that Matthew's tracing through his legal father. So that would be through Joseph's heritage. And then Luke is tracing through Mary's heritage. And so they both go back up to David through there. So both, I guess, genetically, it's hard, we assume that he got some genetic material from Mary, but so both biologically and by the law, legally, he was a descendant of David.
And this next one's probably my favorite prophecy that I always look forward to at Christmas time. So I can't wait for this one.
Yeah. So we were talking about this one that Chat, our favorite, one of our favorite theologians, threw this one in here. So you decide. You tell us in the comments whether you think this is a messianic prophecy that was fulfilled, or is this someone seeing something that's not there? I don't know. We'll get your take on it. But this is from Numbers 24:17. A star shall come out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. So ask yourself right now, what did Jesus do to fulfill this? Well, some have said, because Chat's getting this stuff from someplace.
Yeah, right.
That the star announcing his birth that the wise men followed, this is a fulfillment of it. And maybe it is. Matthew 2:2 says, for we saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him.
Yeah, it's great. I'm looking at trying to gather some more context.
Out of Numbers?
Yeah, one of Balaam's oracles that he's prophesying. He goes on to say that star shall come out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel, it shall crush the forehead of Moab, break down all the sons of Sheth, Edom shall be dispossessed. So, I mean, in a way, it could be, maybe it's like this and then more, and it's, Not one you normally hear at the old Christmas cantata. Am I right?
Right. Well, we sing about the star, but maybe not the prophecy of it. Yeah.
Number 7, gifts from Gentiles. The prophecy that the Messiah would receive gifts from kings. Psalm 72, 10 through 11 says, "May the kings of Sheba and Seba bring gifts. May all the kings fall down before him." Matthew 2:11 says, "Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh." All 3 of the wise men and no more.
Yeah, exactly 3 and only 3. Maybe you'll hear us talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, again, getting gifts so this is 7 prophecies that he has just in his birth and the events that immediately surrounding his birth. So
yeah,
it's not like he can really control whether wise men, as a baby can't control whether wise men come visit him and give him gifts.
Yeah, and I don't know what it's it's staggering. Maybe we should ask ChatGPT how many prophecies. We wouldn't have time to go through them all.
Yeah.
Did Christ fulfill? Because you hear these numbers and it's pretty staggering when you start like looking at every single thing.
Yeah, and
it's
I tried to do a mathematical calculation and because you take all the options that there are and then divide that out. So like if there's 1 in 12 tribes he could have come from times one, how many cities were there? But then you get to this one about being born of a virgin, that's like the fraction. There's 0 in the denominator because there's so that's a hard equation to do.
Yeah, you're like starting off on it, then you're like, oh yeah.
Is it 0 in the denominator? There's anyway. Yeah, it's just basically impossible for him to have been born by a virgin of normal means. That's good. And so you think about our God. What do we do with these prophecies? How do we think about all that God's done for us? A good way to place the start is God is sovereign. He is, because
he's the only one who could have orchestrated all of these. Namely, that virgin prophecy made all of that work that we can trust God not today because He's acted in the past.
Right. Yeah. And part of this sovereignty, so it's like a nugget, a facet of it is his faithfulness to bring about what he's promised. So he promised these things and he has the ability to bring them about, and he does. So that, God is trustworthy. Like if he can bring all that stuff about, he can, watch your life. He can guard your life, and we all go through tough times every now and then, or times we don't understand, not necessarily tough.
Yeah.
Like, God, what are you doing here? Not sure. I'm going to trust you in it.
Yeah, it's good. His promises stand. We can trust his character. I think that's great. Faithfulness, sovereignty. I like this next application, God's love for all nations. That's, just wasn't ethnic Jews. Just wasn't Israel. And even, talking about Matthew's genealogy, you see people like Rahab and Tamar and Bathsheba, and you see women, not only women, but Gentile women all over the place. And you're like, whoa, kind of crazy.
No, that is crazy. Ruth too, right?
Ruth, that's right. That's the fourth one. Yeah.
And so I think that just like the Jews of Jesus's day, Jews of all the days through, were kind of really focused, like, hey, we're God's chosen nation. Whether you agree or disagree that America is God's chosen nation.
Yeah.
Even I disagree with that verbiage, but even if you thought America was like God's chosen nation, which I think we would both disagree with, there are other nations out there that God loves. And so I think we can be somewhat hyper focused on America and in fact, in our Sunday, our church has this saying that we say every Sunday.
Yeah.
We exist to glorify God. And I almost wish we would just like really emphasize that sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you know who does
I'll put in a good word. Yeah.
We exist to glorify God, period, stop. And there's different ways we do that. And as a church, by bringing sinners to Christ and saints to Christ's likeness. And then we've just recently added among the nations to that. So that's good.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to be like actually in the bulletin. We've been saying it for a while, so maybe. But yeah, no, that's great. I really like that a lot. Big application. Jesus is the center of history. That everything points to Jesus. We see going way, way, way back Genesis. We see all of these prophecy fulfilled. It's a big deal that Christ should occupy that center of our lives as well.
That's good. And then lastly, there's hope. Like Christ came and fulfilled the prophecy surrounding his first coming, Christ is going to come and fulfill the prophecies around his second coming.
Yeah.
We can, discuss what those look like because, we don't know exactly how those are going to come about, but God knows.
Yeah.
And that's a sure thing. So we can have expectant hearts as we look forward to his ultimate return.
Well, I hope you all have enjoyed this little bonus episode Advent series. Be looking out for one next Wednesday as well.
Yeah. That's our take.
Thanks for listening to Take Two. Find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube for those who want to watch our video cast.